Welcome everybody to Radio Row. The Compas are at Radio Row. Fernando Ramirez, Gilberto Manzano. Before we introduce our guest, what's up, bro?
What's up, Fernando? I guess we're not alone. We got the king of Las Vegas. There's like a debate who's the biggest celebrity in Las Vegas, and there's a lot of people out here. But for me, it's always going to be Adam Hill of the Las Vegas Review Journal. Adam, how you doing?
I appreciate that. I didn't know there was like a big fancy hello that goes on. That was a fancy way to say hello to you, and then you said it back. I don't have any.
I don't know.
I don't have that.
We've never gone live with three people at once. So
Yeah.
you're
Okay.
special honor.
All right.
Yeah.
We're trying to make you the first guest, but you're a little too busy.
I mean,
So-
there's a lot going on. I did just go over and do some Australia radio. I was debating if I should try an accent or not.
Oh, did you?
No, I kept it very professional. I was like, I better just answer the questions as they come. And
How was that though?
it was very cool. It was a good interview, and I have been to Australia once, so I got to share
wow.
that knowledge. I don't think he cared, but it was very cool. He was very interested in what's going on in Las Vegas and kind of the history of the sports scene, and all culminating with this going on this week.
Jorge, I know we're always late. We apologize. We're obviously trying to get everything going. It's a crazy day here, but we apologize. But we are glad everybody's jumping on.
Apologies are good. I'm waiting for some apologies on Twitter right now, and I haven't gotten them. So
By the way,
I was just checking again.
By the way, right in the last about what do you want to call it? In the last couple of hours, Adam Hill has been an expert on the locker room that the Chiefs will be using. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's a wild story that's going on. First of all, there's so many. Every day at the Super Bowl is a different experience, and the whole news cycle changes every hour. Big talk this morning that the 49ers are using the UNLV practice field, and they don't like it. It's too soft. The grass is too soft. They don't want to be there. So that's always fun. And now the locker room controversy has begun because it was posted the other day that the Chiefs will be using the Raiders locker room, and Raiders fans lost it. That's an arch rival. They're using the locker room. That's not fair. And somebody posted some signage of the Raiders locker room with Chiefs logos painted over. Not painted. It was wrapped over it. And then Jermaine Illuminor from the Raiders chimed in and said, player, he's a starting right tackle for the Raiders. He said, I go in that locker room all the time. That's not our locker room. That's the UNLV locker room. You guys are all wrong. And so everybody's just kind of believed that. Now, here's the problem. I love Jermaine Illuminor. He's great. But there is a player's entrance and a non-player's entrance. There's two entrances. So when he said that's not where we go in, that's true, but it is your locker room.
Yeah.
And so fans have just caught on and said the media's lying, fake news, all this other stuff. And there's been some nasty, nasty things said on Twitter about me and some other people. This morning I went on and did a couple spots on Raider Nation Radio, things like that, and told people, like, look, he's not wrong. That's not where it goes in. We were trying to get to the bottom of it. And then another media person went and did the same thing. Two media people, actually, an hour ago, did the same thing. They took a picture of the player's entrance and said there's no Chief signage. That's the wrong entrance. So now they had that. Now there is an event going on inside the Raiders locker room. It is covered in Chiefs signage and logos, and all of their stuff is in there. So now we know for sure it is the Chiefs in the Raiders locker room. But all of those people that have said nasty things the last 2 days, nothing. I just responded to one. I said, "We good now?" And they haven't responded to that either.
You're such a troll on Twitter. It's so funny.
What else is there to do on Twitter?
That's
what Twitter.
X,
It's
right.
not. No, it's not. It's
Yeah.
Twitter.
Okay, I don't care.
I don't know. Like, what else is there to do? What are you going to just state something that happened? I love people that are like, Raiders took out a first down. Yeah, we all know.
The
We
play-by-play
saw.
guy.
Yeah, why? Everybody that cares is watching it. It's silly, but yes, trolling is a way to do it. And I don't think it's trolling. It's just if they want to attack you and say things, okay, well, I was right. Are you going to say that now? No, of course they're not.
Jorge, real quick, said, "Well, Mr. Hill, just know that Charger fans love you. We appreciate you sharing the mic with the Compas." So
there you go.
there you
Good.
go.
People like you, Adam.
I am also look. I'm a big Michigan fan, so we'll definitely be following Coach Harbaugh's journey down with the Chargers.
Talk
for
about
sure.
that a little bit. What did you make of that?
Of him going to the Chargers.
Yeah.
Look, I know a lot of Michigan fans were upset. Like, to me, he did everything that anybody could have asked him. That's a Michigan fan. Now, I'm from Ann Arbor. I went to UNLV here, so people give me a hard time for that. But I'm from Ann Arbor. I'm a Michigan fan my whole life. Everything that we could have asked for from a coach, he did. So, like, what are we going to drag him at, make him stay there the rest of his career? He accomplished it. And the college landscape is changing. We understand that. He wanted to go back. He has one thing to accomplish still left in his career. He wants to do that, and he went and did it. I'm sure the Raiders, if Jim Harbaugh does work out, are going to regret not maybe pursuing him. But again, the results speak for themselves. So if the Raiders are successful, they're not going to care they don't have Harbaugh. But yeah, for me as a Michigan fan, thanks, coach. Good luck.
Well, going from there, Adam, did the Raiders settle on Antonio Pierce because of the Raider way? They won a few games, they beat the Chiefs, and you see Mike Vrabel out there. You see maybe Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, or Jim Harbaugh. This was a very loaded coaching carousel, and the Raiders said, "Nah, we're good. We like what AP has done." For you, did you think that was a wrong approach? Maybe at least even try and make a full effort, and you swing at the big guys. You always have AP in the back pocket. What did you think about that?
Did you see the report today that Mike Vrabel is just too big?
Or too scary, apparently.
Too scary?
Yeah,
He's like big and intimidating. That's wild. Look, they were going to always consider AP because he did have some success at the end of the year. There's no question. The players loved him so much. It was going to be hard to tell the players, basically they said, go out and perform. If you go out and perform and play well for him, then he's going to have a chance at the job. And they did that. So they were going to have to consider him. It was always going to be the case. For me, I would have talked to everyone, and they did not talk to Jim Harbaugh, and which I thought was fairly interesting. But is it the right hire? Again, we'll find out. Time will tell if they're successful. That he is, but he is a first-time head coach in a division that now has Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, and Sean Payton. That's tough. That's tough. And now, obviously, this very public incident involving, hiring an offensive coordinator, then him backing out of the job and everything that went on there. It's a bad look, regardless of how it works out. Whether it works out or not, for right now, you look bad and you look like you don't kind of know what you're doing. Now, they can fix it. If Luke Getsy works out and he's good and they have a good offense, everybody will forget how this looked. But for right now, it's not a great start. But again, this is the risk reward, I guess, of hiring a first-time coach. He's never gone through a process of hiring coordinators and other assistants and things like that. This is a learning experience for him. And he said often throughout the year, he said, look, my first day on the job is going to be my worst day. And I'll try to get better every day. And he made some really bad mistakes in game management the first couple of games. Got a little bit better later in the time. So I think to his credit, there are things that he knows he doesn't know and that he has to get better at. And if he does that, then it'll work out.
What do you make of the Tom Telesco, Champ Kelly, and Antonio Pierce marriage?
Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing for the Raiders really, and I know that there's a lot of talk about, connections and agents and who's pulling the strings and all that, but that's everywhere. So I thought it was interesting that people were like, oh, the Raiders are just getting pulled around by, all these other agents and all these outside forces. Yeah, what team isn't? That's what happens in the NFL. That's the politics of the NFL. And it's kind of silly to say it's only the Raiders that happens to, but I think that Mark Davis was very hesitant about, and I know Champ and Antonio had the job on an interim basis for this year, but a first-time coach and a first-time GM, both on the job at the same time, both trying to figure it out, throwing them both into the deep end and saying, just go. I think that gave him a lot of pause. And so it makes sense to me that once Antonio Pierce had the job, as much as I thought Champ Kelly did an admirable job and I think deserves a shot as a GM, I just don't think that was going to work out in terms of being inexperienced at both positions. I think they wanted to have a more experienced guy at the top who's done this before, who's been around, and I think that's why they put them together.
Adam, kind of random, but we know Tom Telesco from the Chargers days, and
I'm all about random.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so here we go. He is really big on Jimmy John's. So
really,
what do you feel about the sandwich, and what can you do to say, you know what, you're in Vegas now, or Henderson to be exact, here's something better for you for sandwiches?
Well, first of all, I will say the Jimmy John's has some good
okay, all right.
There are some great spots. Actually, I would tell him to switch to Greek food because there's a Greek spot right by the facility. And us being there every day, we go there probably 4 or 5 times a week. And I know you guys are going to talk to Paul Gutierrez on the beat. It's kind of a running thing. We have a kind of a lunch group, a couple of us, and Paul's part of it. And everybody just knows, don't even ask my suggestion. It's always the Greek place every day. And sometimes we go 4 or 5 times in the week. So I would say for Tom, go to the Greek joint. It's really cool right by you. There's so many great restaurants in Vegas, though, in general. If you're not at the facility, if you have further to go, there's some better spots. But you have the good intel on him. I actually am starting to gather some as well because, oddly enough, just how this works out, my mom and everybody from my mom's family is from a little small village, essentially in Western New York.
Yeah.
And that's where Tom Telesco is from as well.
Oh, wow.
So I have a lot of mutual connections. A lot of people, like, you know, an uncle that went to high school at the same time. So I think my mom and him went to the same elementary school, obviously at different times. But so we have that. So we'll have that and Jimmy Johnson talk about it, I guess.
Adam, real quick, somebody's asking what happened with Cliff to the Raiders. If you can share it.
Yeah. I'm, and I'll full disclosure, I'll say, and I've said this a couple times today already, that obviously there are things that we think we know that we're trying to confirm. So a little hesitant in answering this question in terms of exactly what I think happened. But I will say that usually when a deal is close and it's reported, there's little issues that still have to get worked out, that aren't fully done. And that is almost every time you see a report, hey, this guy is going to be the coach of this team, or this guy's going to take this job, it's almost never done yet. It's always a work in progress. And in this case, those little issues that are almost always ironed out weren't. And the other part of this is, until a deal is signed, there's other teams that are pulling strings and saying, hey, you haven't signed yet? What about this? Oh, what do you think about this? Now, I don't believe it has to do, a lot of people have said he went somewhere else because he wanted a better chance at drafting a quarterback right away, especially potentially getting Caleb Williams. I don't believe it was quarterback related. I think there were some other things at work here that led to this happening. And one of the reports out there was that he wanted a 3-year deal, and that's not something the Raiders usually do with assistant coaches. And I think that was a little part of it, but I do think there were some particular things about who was going to be around in the organization that there was maybe some disagreements on.
Who had a bigger backpedal? Was it Josh McDaniels to the Colts, or was it Cliff Kingsbury to the Raiders?
I think it was McDaniels. I mean, he was on his way to the press conference.
There was a handshake.
And, you know, that story has come out, hasn't been fully confirmed by either side, but what happened there, and I don't necessarily blame Josh McDaniels in that case. Like, it's a strange story that I'm sure a lot of people have heard, and we don't have to get into it necessarily, but if what was reported happened between Josh McDaniels and the Colts actually happened, I think that there's probably good reason to have backed out of that deal.
His wife probably made chimichangas for dinner or something. So he had to run to the bathroom.
Nobody had to be gross about it. But the story was,
I said chimichangas.
That Irsay came to McDaniel's house to fly him back to the press conference, and that he went to the restroom and was in there far too long for anybody to be comfortable, and that Josh McDaniel's wife said, "We don't want to work with this guy." And I feel like if that's true, I don't blame him. How long is too long for somebody to be in your house in the bathroom and say, yeah, I'm going to go work
30 minutes?
I think it's like 15.
Yeah. No, that's 30.
Yeah, because now people are on their
sometimes
phones.
You got a
people
heavy
are on
dinner.
their phones.
Yeah, but
maybe
if
20.
You're on your phone in the bathroom, you have to be thinking, okay, what are these people thinking about me out there? I got to get out there, and I'll use my phone out there.
Millionaires and billionaires, I don't think care about what the notion is about them, to be completely honest.
You know what? I said 50. I'm gonna take it back. I think it's like 5.
5? No.
You're in somebody's house. You're meeting for the first time. You're meeting somebody for the first time.
The best thing you can do is not even do it. Like
of course.
Yeah, that's a party foul.
But I'm saying 5 minutes. We're starting to think, what has happened?
Yeah. You know what? If you actually do that at somebody's house for the first time you just met, then maybe you don't want to be there working with that person. So I get you, Adam. Okay.
Yeah. And you have to think like, hey, this is gonna be my boss. Is he gonna visit me every day and start ruining? I don't know.
Would it be in the bathroom on company time? You know, we're supposed to be doing the game plan for the week.
I mean, I have so many questions that I would love to get answered at some point. It's tough to ask them. But yeah, I feel like if that really happened, I'm cool with just saying, you know what, this probably isn't going to work.
Just to bring it back a little bit, Adam, and speaking of, upset Raider fans, the whole mess with Cliff, do you think that maybe they got it right with going with Luke Getsy? And do you think the whole criticism of Cliff with the Cardinals was warranted, or maybe the Commanders messed up with getting Cliff? I just want to get your point from going from Cliff to Luke in 24 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it was me, I probably would have taken a little bit more time just to say, okay, let's think about this. But it's pretty clear, like, Luke Getsy was their second choice. They hired Kingsbury. It didn't work out, so let's just move on. Let's not overthink it, I guess, was their rationale. I think Kingsbury is a pretty good offensive coordinator. I think Getsy has the potential to potentially be as well. Like, who do you blame for what happened in Chicago? Do you blame Getsy? Do you blame potentially Justin Fields, other guys that were struggling a little bit on that offense. Whose fault is it? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. If there's some struggles again offensively, then it's probably something to say about Luke Getsy. But Luke Getsy's fate is not going to be determined necessarily by Luke Getsy. It's going to be determined by who's playing quarterback, and that is going to be a big factor here. And not just quarterback will be the main story, but how does the offensive line play? Do they still have Devontae Adams? Do they still have Josh Jacobs? How do some of those other players perform? Because in the end, you can design the best offense ever. And if you don't have the players to do it, they're not going to do it. And you can design the worst offense ever. I'll tell you right now, if I'm the offensive coordinator for Patrick Mahomes, I probably look pretty good. Just go out there and play. What's the play? I don't know. Go throw it to somebody. I would probably look pretty good as a coordinator. But that's because of the players. And the players do determine a lot more than we'd like to think when we talk about coaches.
Well, there's your question right there. Josh Jacobs, is he back? And Devontae Adams, is he back?
You know what? I would have said at the end of the year, there's probably close to zero chance Josh Jacobs is back. But I do think that there's something to the feeling in the locker room of everybody kind of being excited. Everybody that was there last year loved the vibe so much that, would he potentially take less? Maybe. And I also, I've talked about it a lot of times, I think running backs need to be paid more and better and have the structure different so that they can get compensated earlier in their careers. Because basically how it is now is after 4 years of just beating you up and running into the ground, we're not going to pay you. So how fair is that? If you have under team control for 4 years, now we're not going to pay you. Now, I also feel like teams shouldn't pay running backs. I'm on both sides, but I feel like it should be changed. But I do feel like Josh Jacobs thinks there's bigger money out there than there probably actually is. So when he tests the market and finds out it's a little bit less than he thinks, he might say, well, all things being equal, no state taxes in Nevada, and I really like the locker room, I might come back.
It's kind of like last year with Tony Pollard and Saquon and all these guys, and even Austin Eckler, who they possibly thought they could get about 12 to 13, and then all reality is you got franchise tagged, and it's only a 1-year deal.
Yeah, so there's a chance that he, sees that the grass isn't always greener on the other side and decides to come back. I think that's possible, much more possible now. I still wouldn't put it at 50%, but I think it's more possible now than it was at the end of the season.
And Devontae?
Man, I think it's a big question. He did a podcast recently, and I'll say that Devontae Adams doesn't say things on accident. That's something I've learned about him from being around him a little bit. And he definitely didn't shut down the possibility that he could get traded. Where do the Raiders think they are? Do they think that they actually have a chance to compete for a division title, make a deep run in the playoffs this year? I mean, on paper right now, I don't think they do. But if they believe they do, then you have to keep Devontae Adams around. And if you believe that you don't have that chance, then you've got to try to trade him and see what you can get for him. I think that there's real benefit, especially if you have a young quarterback, to having an elite receiver to say, hey, is the quarterback good? And if he doesn't have a weapon, then you might say, well, we don't know if he's good. He doesn't have anybody to throw to. If you have Devontae Adams, you can say, all right, can you get the ball to him? Maybe we've got something here. And so there is something to gauge a young quarterback on if you have an elite receiver like that. But I do think that there's probably a possibility that they're open to at least hearing offers.
Adam, quick question was just asked. If Christian McCaffrey wins the MVP and they win the Super Bowl, do you think that'll shift the running back market?
No. He's a unicorn, right? I mean, there's very few that are able to do what he does, and those are the running backs that actually can get paid. The guys that can dramatically impact both the passing game and the running game in the way that he can. But you could also look at it and say, hey, they got fairly fortunate that he was healthy. But one of the reasons you don't pay running backs is because he did have some injury problems for a couple of years and wasn't on the field every week. And that's just the unfortunate situation with running backs. So it could change the market for Christian McCaffrey, although he already got his big money. But I don't think people are going to look at that and say, hey, we're going to pay running backs now. I just don't think that will happen.
Adam, besides random conversations, we brought you on for hot takes too. I think you like those, right? Just to kind of
every once in a while
stir it up if you want. And I check out X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, and there's Twitter. And a lot of Raider fans seem upset that Max Crosby doesn't get more love or more consideration for Defensive Player of the Year. Should it be in that conversation? And I guess, where do you rank him among the best edge rushers we have? Nick Bosa here in Las Vegas for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think Max Crosby is very, very good. And, obviously a little bit biased from just seeing him work every day and the impact that he has on the team beyond just him practicing. I mean, the coaches really do hold him up. It's not just coach speak. They can go out on the practice field and say, look what he does. That's our best player. Look what he does every day. And so they can kind of, set the standard in that way. So he's very important. The unfortunate thing for him and for Raiders fans who want him to be recognized for like defensive player of the year and those sorts of things is that you got to win. If you win, then he's going to be in that conversation. And if you don't win, then he's not going to be in that conversation. And I don't think that's how it's supposed to be, but that's how it is. And I think we all understand that, and we know that if you're on a team that's not a winning team, you're not going to have guys in consideration for those kind of awards. But if they were winning, if they were a playoff team this year, I think he'd have a lot better chance to be the defensive player of the year, even if he had the exact same season. And he also was hurt down the stretch, didn't have quite the impact the last couple of games. He shouldn't have been playing. The fact that he stepped on the field is unbelievable, because we got to see him in the locker room every day and just look at his knees and his hand. And it was awful. You hurt just looking at him every day, and he still was rarely missing a play. It was wild to watch that.
Adam, so a couple of weeks ago, well, not a couple, 2 weeks, last week, 2 weeks ago, actually, no, yeah, my bad. 2 weeks ago, we saw you trolling.
Math is hard.
Yeah, that's why we're journalists. We saw you doing the ultimate troll after the Buffalo Bills lost to the Kansas City Chiefs.
I am so proud.
You go and
you
go to the jukebox and you put Taylor Swift songs for a Buffalo Bills fan.
Dude,
that was sad.
It wasn't a fan. It was a Buffalo Bills bar. That place was packed at the beginning.
Yeah.
Now, I took a photo of that guy because it was funny near the video of him because it was funny at the end.
Yeah.
Dude, when I went in there, I was actually a little nervous to do it. It was a full Bills bar that was depressed and sad. And I played, it cost me way more than I care to admit. I think it cost close to like $80. I played 3 hours of Taylor Swift music in the Bills bar, starting about 20 minutes after the game ended.
Nobody told you anything?
Well, they started skipping them, but there were so many of them that they were just like, all right. And finally they were all right. Now, it is a bar that I hang out at, and people that I know that are there, they were not happy with me. But eventually they were like, all right, we're just going to play this. So many people accused that of being fake on social media. And I was like, that was not fake. I did it. And the bar actually, if you guys saw, the bar actually responded to a lot of people that said it was fake. They were like, no, it happened. I was pretty proud of that one. That was good. But it was more, I did in a former life used to be a massive Buffalo Bills fan, and some things happened that really soured me on fandom. And now that I cover the NFL, I can't really be a fan anyway. So I do have a little bit of a animosity built up to some of the fan base that said some really nasty things at a game that I went to, not about me, about somebody else. And I didn't like it. And so I felt, you know what, this is the time. And I went and did it, and people were upset and mad, and I loved every second of it. It was great.
It's a long game. And Adam, I don't know if
he's talking about the juice.
No, it's somebody
else.
Yeah. But Adam, I actually referred to your video in one of my stories. So
thank you.
You know what? It was that good.
I felt kind of bad because I had that tweet blew up. It was wild how much interaction that did. And I got lost in the mentions and the messages, and everything that was coming in was crazy. But so many outlets were like, hey, can we use this? But I had so many DMs, I couldn't get to all of them. And so I felt kind of bad. I eventually got to all of them, but everyone was using that, which was crazy. But again, so many people just said, look, fake setup. It was not.
We used it on our show to show people. Somebody,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Athir's asking how much pressure is on San Francisco to finish the job this Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I think quite a bit, but I believe that they probably think that they'll be back, just like a lot of teams do. The Chiefs have the comfort of having won before, so that is a little bit helpful, especially in this game last time. But I also think in terms of the pressure, I think it'll even start building more if they're winning in this game. They blew that lead last time, and they had every opportunity against the Chiefs the first time. And I know a lot of the players are different, but they had every opportunity 4 years ago to get the job done, to finish it, to win that Super Bowl championship that they haven't won in like 30 years, and they weren't able to do it, and the Chiefs rallied. And so if the 49ers are in that position again, I think that's when they'll start to maybe feel the pressure of, we were in this position before, we didn't get the job done. We can't let that happen again. And that's where I think you'll start to see it. And I think that's a situation the Chiefs will be very comfortable in, saying, hey, we know we can rally. We know we can come back. And the Niners know they can rally too if they fall behind. But I do think the most pressure would happen if the 49ers have a lead in the fourth quarter.
Jorge said that you're a menace for doing that at a Bills bar.
Dude, I'm not kidding. I was scared for a minute.
Wow.
Like it was a nerve, because at first I just played it. I didn't say like, hey, I did this. I just played it and then sat at the bar and just watched the chaos. And eventually, after about 3 or 4 songs of skipping them and finally letting a couple play, they were like, "It was you, wasn't it? It was you." And I was like, "Who? What?" And I was nervous to admit it, but I was laughing so hard that I kind of had to. And they were like, I think they were very close to kicking me out. I don't think anybody was going to actually hit me, but I didn't think it was impossible. I thought there was a possibility that was going to happen, so I was ready for it. But look, in the end, I probably deserved it. I'm not going to lie; like that's a really messed up thing to do, but it was still worth it.
Right. And Adam, you surprise me all the time, but that was a great work by you.
Thank you.
You're a genius.
Thank you.
But speaking of geniuses, you can confirm the story if you want, Adam. A big deal when Allegiant Stadium was getting built. There's supposedly a Chiefs fan who worked on that building and buried the Chiefs flag under the stadium. Can you confirm or deny, or what do you think?
Well, there was a lot of investigative work done by some colleagues of mine, and I kind of helped out a little bit on that. Not much, but I will say Ed Grady did a great job of this. He came to the conclusion that it did not happen. I will say I'm not so sure, because essentially a fan from Kansas City was working on the stadium. He was one of the construction workers. He took a photo of a Chiefs flag and had it posted on social media that he buried that flag that was in the photo underneath the stadium. And he said this happened. He put it out there. After a while, it gained a lot of traction. This is back when the stadium was built. Gained a lot of traction, and his boss, who was the head of the union workers around here, came to him and said, "Did you really do this?" And he was like, No, that was just a joke. And the response from the head of the union workers was, "I'm going to need that flag then to see that you didn't actually bury it." And eventually he says he got the flag. I was given the flag, so he clearly didn't bury it. Cool. There's more than one flag, right?
It's not like there's a serial number on it.
Right. So now that this story is getting big again 5 years later, he's been approached by a lot of people. And if you've seen any interviews with him, he won't confirm or deny whether he did it or not. I think, and I'll also say, apparently, the head of the union workers, who's Tommy White, really good dude around here. We all kind of are familiar with him and been around him. He is trying to get tickets to the game for this construction worker. Now, I said, he's buying him off, right? He's paying him to say you didn't bury this flag. Now he's saying, no, I'm just rewarding for being a fan and he was a good worker and all that stuff. But one of the things Tommy White said was, we know that it wasn't buried because we had our workers there 24 hours a day, and our workers, didn't do that. Well, this guy who said he did it was one of your workers. So was he watching himself? Like, I don't understand. So there's a lot of moving pieces on this. The official word right now is that it did not happen. I have my doubts.
Adam, 2 quick fan questions.
Fernando, just to be quick, because we have to go to media night. Do rapid fire style with Adam, because we have questions coming in, but just want to give a little heads up.
Yeah, real quick, Adam. What do you expect from Luke Getsy in Vegas, and do you think he did enough to show that he wasn't the problem in Chicago?
Well, we'll find out, right? I mean, the offense wasn't great. So did he do enough? Not in Chicago, I don't think, but he has a chance here to start over with different weapons, and especially if Devontae Adams is around and they figure out what they're going to do at quarterback. And by the way, I was talking to Aiden O'Connell earlier and asked him, do you like all these people saying figure out what you're going to do at quarterback? You were a winning quarterback as a rookie. So I don't know what, necessarily how he feels about that, but he said, hey, I've always been about competition. I'm ready for it. So that's interesting, but we'll find out. I mean, he didn't prove it in Chicago necessarily, but there could have been other factors.
How would you rank the 4 quarterbacks in the AFC West?
Mahomes.
No, my bad. Coaches. Sorry, coaches.
Okay.
Sorry.
I was like,
or both.
Mahomes 1, Herbert 2. So yeah, coaches. Oh man, I'm in a tough spot. Andy Reid is incredibly successful. So is Sean Payton, but I'm a Harbaugh guy. And clearly, this question is designed. All right, I'll go. Harbaugh, Reid, Pierce.
And Peyton at the bottom?
Peyton.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Adam, now do it with a serious face.
Currently, obviously, Sean Payton has had a ton of success, but currently, sure.
Do it with a serious face. We could cut it out for social later, and people could get all riled up about it.
No, I'm not. I won't do that. Pierce 1? I don't. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll say my biggest problem with Antonio Pierce, he was the most conservative coach in the NFL last year. Now, was that because he didn't trust the offense or because he's conservative by nature? And hopefully it's because he didn't trust the offense. 34th most conservative coach, Josh McDaniels. The only one more conservative, Antonio Pierce.
So let me ask you real quick. Fans are wondering about Russell Wilson. Do you believe that? Or who could be the quarterback for the Raiders next year?
I mean, obviously, if they had their absolute, druthers, I think they would go with Caleb Williams. But I think that there's a strong interest in Jaden Daniels. I think that's a guy that they're going to try to target to move up, and who knows if that's third or fifth or wherever you have to go. And even I've heard rumors now second. But I think Jaden Daniels would be their ultimate number one choice. But I said earlier, and I haven't heard anything about this other than this one time, but Davante Adams does not say anything on accident, as I said earlier. And when he was asked on a podcast recently who he'd like to catch passes from, he said Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
And he doesn't say things on accident.
Yeah.
So that really struck me as something that was interesting. Again, I hadn't heard anything about that necessarily, but when he said that, it definitely got my attention.
Gilbert, think about this real quick. You have Sierra and Taylor Swift in the AFC West. Now the Raiders and the Chargers need to do something to get to catch up to those two teams.
Whoa.
I was going to say, you have somebody?
Raiders have Rodis Grasu, who's the fiance of Sabrina Ionescu.
Oh.
Fernando has no idea.
You don't know who that is?
No.
I don't either, to be honest.
Oh, my
You know who was
I know
Charger?
the player.
You know who was at a Charger game?
Wait, you don't know Rodis Grasu, or you don't know Sabrina Ionescu?
I know Sabrina.
Yeah, Rodis Grasu was the center for the Raiders, the backup center.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
He's
Then
engaged.
wow.
He's engaged to Sabrina.
So he's
To
the
Sabrina who?
backup center for the Raiders.
Sabrina Ionescu.
For
Who
the
is she?
Liberty.
She's about to take on Steph Curry in the three-point shootout.
Her. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She's a huge Kobe.
And every player in the
Wait,
Raiders locker room
okay.
has the Sabrina ones.
Just like
Oh,
just
wow, I
like,
didn't
just
know
I
that.
feel better. Backup for a Raider center.
Okay, so now the
the
Chargers,
backup Raiders center.
Okay,
so
all
now
right.
the Chargers
I
are
feel
missing.
better
engaged.
because I don't need to know that. Okay.
The Chargers are now missing. The Chargers are now missing somebody. But real quick, Tom Telesco usually stays put. Do you feel like he could move up in this draft for a quarterback?
I think it's possible. I mean, especially like how much input does Antonio Pierce have? And I think it'll be quite a bit. So, Antonio Pierce has a relationship with Jaden Daniels from Arizona State. So that's where that that's where that connection kind of came up. So, I think if Pierce kind of pushes for it and some of the other offensive coaches, maybe they look into doing that.
Well, we've had a great time with our compa Adam Hill. Adam, anything else you want to say before you head out of here?
No, good.
That's it?
No hot
It's
take,
been a
no
lot.
nothing.
What
do you expect from Harbaugh year one?
10-7?
Wow,
That's good.
Yeah,
that's
Reasonable.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Playoffs.
I think so. Yeah, I think they sneak in.
So Charger fans should be excited about Jim Harbaugh.
I mean, how could is anybody not?
They're very
Are
excited.
there fans that are like, I don't know, maybe
No,
he's
no.
a decent hire?
You know, it's funny. So on all their social media posts that they had, we interviewed this head coach, we interviewed this. Like the only two that moved the needle were Vrabel and Harbaugh, but Harbaugh's was at like 6 million, and Vrabel was at like 900,000.
But Vrabel's big and scary.
Well, yeah, but no, people are excited about Jim Harbaugh and their hype. But thank you guys so much for checking that out. We will jump on another live tomorrow. Make sure you guys stay tuned. We have a lot of great stuff coming up. We will be at media night tonight, so we will have some good videos. Opening night. Sorry. By the way, who's going to have more people at their booth? Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, or Andy Reid?
Oof. I mean, I think Kelsey.
Yeah, that's what we've been
Like
saying.
Entertainment Tonight, all those people will be there.
Asking goofy questions.
And Mahomes is obviously going to have to deal with a question he doesn't want to answer today, so I think there'll be a lot of those people around. But
yeah,
I do think it's Travis Kelce will be number one.
yeah. No, what did he say? Don't lie to him, Fernando. It was Harbaugh or bust. Yeah, no, I know, but I'm saying those are the two guys that moved the needle. I know. Delbert, thank you so much. Really, he said he really enjoyed the show, so he really enjoyed having you, Adam.
I'm a star.
Yeah, no, you really are. You really are.
It's
No,
your town, by the way.
Yeah,
It is, I know.
We're here.
I try.
Some people try and claim that it's their town, but
Well, I know the one guy you're talking about who's just an all-out liar.
well, we appreciate you, Adam. Everybody, thank you. Stay tuned for everything else we got this week. We will be jumping back on a live tomorrow, but thank you guys so much for tuning in.
I'll
That's
probably
a wrap.
pop in again too.
Yeah, why not?
Oh, there you go.